Well, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for the cast reunion for War Room. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Hi, guys.
Hello,
Hey,
sir.
Hey,
hello
what's up?
everyone.
What's up?
It's so good to see you
Yeah,
all here.
Yeah.
Briefly, I want to say hello to everybody. We have Stefan Hayek here with us. Stefan Hayek plays Reiswitz von Gustavus. He's the lead character in this storyline. We have his Ross Douglas, who plays Reiswitz's father, Helvig von Gustavus. And we have Dylan Smith, who plays one of the Legionnaire, one of the tribunists of the 10th Legion, Tepper Kazdani. And we have Michael Montgomery, who plays one of a centurion in the Legion, Bangani. And we have Christopher Morson, who in this film that the reunion is for, he plays the messenger. He's got the immortal line that the emperor is dead. And but he also has a longer term character in our story that we'll talk to a little bit. So hey guys, what's up? What's been happening?
Well,
Not leaving the house.
so much.
Lockdown.
Not watching catch up. During this time, I finally got into Game of Thrones. I watched it.
All right.
go.
I understand
Never watched
winter
it.
is coming.
Nice.
Yeah, well, we don't have quite the budget of Game of Thrones, but we are trying to make that big of a story.
Hey,
day.
it's getting there.
I'd say same imagination capabilities, though. Good heavens.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got the imagination. Yeah, we got the writer. We got Steve Connard, who's by the way, he's with us in chat here.
Is he? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good,
So
good.
you and I can't see him, but I know he's there. So hi, Steve.
Hi,
Yeah,
Steve. How you doing, my friend? Actually, he lives right up by me. So there you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're in Point Roberts.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Stefano, what have you been up to?
Well, a lot of things, but mainly dedicating a lot of time to raising a rambunctious 3-year-old toddler. So I've, over the course of the past 3 years, life has gotten a whole lot more interesting. Trying to crowbar in as much creative time as we possibly can, and with COVID going on and everything else, it's just been a real challenge, but just finding the balances, finding those moments to feel normal in the not normal times.
Right. Have you been able to do any work in film business?
A lot of things dried up during COVID, of course, and I think it's hard for a lot of us to remember the moments before that. But in the year and a half before that, I had been working on some film projects with some friends, and I've been segueing more into doing directing work that's been more attractive as a storyteller. So we have completed nearly 2 short films, and also I have been a kind of side consulting producer on a documentary film that just got released called Personhood, and that was something that my wife and also our production partner Rosalie Miller was the producer on that, and she and the director Joe Ardinger, who was also both of them associated with this project, worked very long and hard over the course of about 6 or 7 years to bring this documentary to life, and it just got released to the masses this last year. This last year it was on the festival circuit, and then it just got released just in the last month. So there's just been a lot of work on that, and a lot of work with the kid. And I also work as a creative director, as my kind of how to tell what's a side gig anymore, but that's my day job. So I've been doing a lot of marketing and commercial work as a creative director. So just juggling and finding time to craft all the creative and crowbar it into the crazy life that we're living right now.
Well, I congratulations on Personhood. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing they did that.
Yeah. As as people watching, Stefan's wife Rosalie Miller has also been the production manager on most of my live action films. And Stefan and Rosalie together have been mentors for me in how to make films. And I think that you guys started Personhood at about the same time I started Chaldea, and you were kind of coming out at about the same time, the snail's pace of indie filmmaking, right?
Yeah, I mean, documentary is a whole other beast, and they just moved mountains to make this happen. I mean, Rosalie's a badass, and you know, anyone who gets her on a project knows that she just kills it. And I'm constantly in awe of her juggling an amazing little child and also getting all these other things done. She handles it with as much grace as she can possibly muster.
Right, right. All right. Well, Michael, what have you been up to the last 6 years since?
No, since it was all normal. I recently, a month ago, a movie I did just came out called The Reason. With I played Lou Gossett Jr.'s son, and yeah, it's a faith-based movie. And Tavjan Ali from The Fresh Prince was in it. You know, a couple other cast members was in it, and we shot that in Georgia, and it just came out like a month ago, and it's been getting a lot of ravings and a lot of commercialization. So it's been really good, and I just been mostly like pushing towards the creative side as well. I have a lot of stories that I would like to the world to see out. So I've been mostly working behind the scenes. You know, I have a creative partner down in Texas been working with that we're going to be start pumping out stuff in the near future when things get back to normal. So, but other than that, just with that film with Lou Gossett Jr. and Tavjan Ali, just came out called The Reason.
All right. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. How about you, Dylan? How you been?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, well, I've done some projects since our War Room shoot, you know, but nothing really right now. I was going to be in a theater production right when COVID hit, and we had to cancel that. But I think it's going to be turning into. It sounds like it's going to be turning into a radio play now. So we're just changing the style. But I guess I'm just kind of taking this time to learn things that I've always wanted to for like my resume and stuff, you know, like you know, over the years being inspired by people like actually like Chris here or Brandon, our lead, you know, that are really into fight choreography and martial arts. And I'm kind of looking at online classes for that and just trying to, you know, get flexible and stuff and stretch a lot and just, you know, see what happens when the world gets somewhat back to normal and see what happens, man.
All right. All right. Hey, I just saw John Bishop's in our chat too. He plays Horseshoe Jack, which will be in an upcoming Sarva chapter. So, okay. Chris Morson, what have you been up to?
Oh man, you know, looking back at War Room, I watched it again today, and I was like, wow, that was so long ago. You know, so much happened since then. You know, I can grow facial hair now. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
But no, yeah, I was in LA for a little over a year and was making that back and forth from Seattle and there, and then booked some theater up in Seattle, and then COVID hit. So I'm staying here in Seattle until things kind of clear up, but you know, just trying to stay busy. There's a couple film projects out there. One's in post-production called Saturn, a sci-fi feature that's in post right now. And last probably big project I filmed was the movie called Prospect with Pedro Pascal. You might know him as The Mandalorian, a few other shows he's done. Wonder Woman he was in, but that's on Netflix right now. I play basically an alien mercenary in that.
That's great movie, by the way. You know, our part of the Chaldea family, the Bandersnatch guys did the in-camera effects for that. So
yeah, it was great. I mean, it was shot in North Seattle too, and a lot of it was shot in the woods, and they had a warehouse full of just spaceships that they made that you could walk into. That was all usable stuff, which was amazing. So it was cool to be a part of that process. And you know, things like this in film, they take you film it and then you might not see it for a couple of years while all the little pieces and bits come together. So
Years
it was
even.
cool. Yeah, years. So it was cool to kind of have something that I filmed, even that was a few years ago, that has now started to come out. And it's like, wow, people are getting excited about it. And to come back to something like Chaldea and War Room and seeing people talking about it and buzzed about it again is just such a great family. And
yes, I would agree with that, Christopher. Absolutely.
That's reassuring, Peter. That's reassuring, man.
I mean, for the record, I've been here all the time, the whole time.
Yeah.
Working, Steve and I have been slaving away the entire time. But yes, it's really good to have it back. And also, Jake Nzunza is in chat, who plays.
Yay!
Yeah, he plays Balatu in the Sarva storyline, and Gank, the orc. Anyway, that's fun. So Ross, how about you? How have you been? What have you been up to?
Well, gosh, you go back to that's 2015 when we actually finished this segment, wasn't it? Well, shortly
War
after
Room,
that,
we filmed it in 2014.
but we didn't. Oh, there's the very end of it, wasn't it? Yeah.
December 2014 is when we filmed the film that we're all reunioning about right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, into 2015, I started working on an album which I recorded in sort of the middle part of 2015, and I've been primarily doing music for the last 5 years. Festivals and folk clubs and this, that, and the other, and I've really gotten into house concerts. So I've been doing a lot of those. And everything was going to go great, and then we had to pause. And of course, you're not doing house concerts during a COVID thing, are you? So that sort of stopped. But I've been doing a lot of writing, and because I live where I live, we have a fair bit of wildlife that has intrigued me over the years. So I bought myself a half decent camera, and I've really gotten into photography. So I'm having a blast up here. I wish I was working more. Do a bit of voice work. But the other thing that I've decided to do, I started it and I haven't missed a day since the new year, was Qigong, an exercise practice, Chinese exercise practice, which suits me more than any other exercise practice I have ever taken up. So I am having a wonderful time.
Dude, great. I dabbled into that for a second. That's dope. Awesome.
Nice.
If you've ever done Qigong, man, you don't stop doing it once you start. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Well, hey, we are thank you for the updates. We're this is a Chaldea reunion. I mean, we have all worked together, not as exactly this group, but I have worked with each of you individually or in smaller groups on Chaldea, like voiceover bits since then. So we've seen each other since then, but this is the reunion of our time together on set doing War Room. And it's given that was just over 6 years ago. I'm wondering if anybody can remember anything about being on set.
I do.
Okay.
Here's what I remember being on set, and I dare anybody to say they felt differently. I'm thinking, well, there's a whole great big world in this thing that I have no clue about. I'm loving being here, but boy, I really don't know what's going on too much. I know my lines, I know this, but good Lord. Peter, at one point, I think you and Steve both said to me that you'd been at this since, was it the 80s?
Yeah, we started working on, I started Chaldea as a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
And then you actually told me that you'd be at this for the rest of your life. And I'm thinking, well, yeah.
Yeah. Steve and I,
character,
we say kind of laughingly, tongue in cheek, but also kind of half serious that we hope we finish this before we die.
Yeah. Anyway, marvelous experience. Still don't quite grasp the whole big picture. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
What a nerd.
I mean, I don't think you have it completely mapped out anyway, do you, Peter? You kind of got, I mean, it seemed like it was constantly being developed. And of course you were making pivots as you were writing and as things were actually getting done. You're like, well, we could go this way, because I just remember hearing a lot of conversations about, well, we could do this, we could do that, we might do this. And even when we were recording VO, there were times where I could hear, well, let's do this because it informs this later. and we could change that later. So it's kind of like anything that you do that it's never really finished until it is anyway. So it's not like you had this entire thing mapped out back when we shot this and you knew exactly where it was going to go. You had a rough framework, but of course there was a lot more to flesh out.
Well, I think, well, that's exactly right. We have the big story mapped out. Like we know how this story ends, which is
Everybody does.
Yeah, we're quite proud of that because I think not everybody does when they do a big series. But we know how this story ends, and we know the fate of the major characters in the story. But yeah, there's a lot of things along the way that have to be worked out. And case in point that affected you, Stefan, is that when we did War Room, we had not decided that Reiswitz was a lead character in the series. And in fact, for War Room itself, for the live action bit of War Room and that piece of it, we co-billed you and Uncle Duke as sort of co-leads in it. We didn't have a clear like who's the protagonist, and even in the and so in the War Room that we came out with, just last week as a video, of course, we fixed that and made it very clear that Reiswitz is the protagonist in this story. But yeah, we didn't even have that figured out then.
I mean, you just bring in Duke into conversation. I'm assuming we're going to speak at some point about him, but I mean, what a joy and what an inspiration. He was just so happy to be there, and he was so committed, and he just, I don't know, he was just absolutely amazing. He and his wife, I mean, they just kind of killed it, and there were some real magical moments with him that I was just like, this is just amazing. And I know that there was some, him being a toy maker was just kind of the icing on the cake, and that was kind of the fanboy aspect of this, but he just brought such a cool character to it besides that, so that's like icing on the cake. I love that guy. I miss him.
I have a
pleasure to have gotten the chance to work with him. I
have a memory just sitting next to him on the chairs right outside the studio, and we were just talking. And I remember texting my uncle, who is huge, got me into Dungeons and Dragons and RPG games and whatnot. And he's like, I texted him there. He's like, "You're sitting next to the Duke right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And rewatching War Room today, and just watching how natural he was in those scenes of when he takes the little sip of alcohol, and then you take it, and then you give that little cough. It's so good.
I remember one scene where he enters the War Room, and me and him share like a glare, and Peter was like, "You gotta look like you're amazed at this huge guy," and he was like, "Oh, that won't be hard." So it was a joy, his personality, and it was infectious. Just a down to earth person, and what he brought to the character, and being a toy maker in the story that just jumped in this world of battle and of Chaldea brings like a down to earth feeling to anybody who can relate to something. It could be anybody who could be a toy maker. You don't have to have strength. You don't have to have 7 feet tall, or you have to have a natural, but having a talented toy maker, it just resonates with a lot of people that, what you're doing in your profession can make a difference to other people.
Well, and those are the examples of his work there that we were working with too, weren't they? All those,
they were.
I mean, they were exquisite. It was an astounding achievement. And of course, he had how many thousands of those types of sets as he made in his life. It was amazing.
I bought quite a few of those actually.
Oh, did you?
Speaking
Yeah.
of fanboy,
Well, that's how we kind of got connected. Is he was wanting to offload some of these miniatures, and he gave me a call. I mean, he was a bit of a ham, bit of a salesman. He
Yeah.
was shy about asking for
that.
what he wanted, and he just called
Got
me
a
out of
deal
the
for
blue.
22,000 at a time or something.
Yeah, he just called me out of
Yeah.
the blue and said, "Peter, I got all these amazing collections. They're so good and they're historic and like these are, I mean, he sold it and I bit. I was like,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
I'll take it.
I'll take
Yeah.
5. I'll take 5
Yeah.
armies, please." Yes. I'm down here at the studio. I'm recording from Chaldea Studios over in West Seattle. Most of you been
Oh,
here.
cool.
And
Cool.
they're all up there in the loft. I can see them from here.
Oh my, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, Stefan, you mentioned Duke. I just had to say he loved that last shot in that film with you.
yeah, I remember trying to work through that, how we were gonna get us both into frame and kind of flip flopping the camera around, and I just remember like trying to create that intimate moment, and yeah, that when I think about the visuals of that, I have a lot that fly through my head, but him coming up to that table, with me struggling with the armor, leaning up against the table, was definitely something that somehow touched me. I just yeah, that was a good moment.
Well, you had an impact on him. He confided me later, Stefan, that he felt, because he knew that you were such a professional actor and that so established in your craft, and that you treated him like he was too, even though he his experience wasn't really in film, and that it just really warmed his heart, the way you treated him. So,
well, I mean, respectfully, I think we all come at this at different levels in our career. We all meet each other at different levels in developing who we are as artists and who we are as people. And I don't know. I don't. It's like we're kind of all in this together, and it like the best everybody can be around you, the better it makes you too. So, we all struggle through these things. We all doubt ourselves and everything, but he was just everybody was just so genuine and just actually wanting to really enjoy the process. So I think that's the thing that stands out to me. And to me, that's always, regardless of the quality or how it's received out in the world, the real joy is actually in doing the work. So if we can have a good time doing it, then that's what we can actually control. We can't control how people are going to receive it or celebrate it or hate it or whatever else. It's really just about the experience that we have together. It's just kind of like we build this little fort and we all come in and play in it for a little while and then we go our separate ways. So we really have to at least enjoy it. Otherwise, why bother?
100%. I mean, talk about building a fort. The costume people and the set and everyone that
no doubt
just walking into that war room, that set, walking in there, I'm in a castle right now.
Yeah.
And a second ago I was in this like weirdly dimmed room with crackers and cheese, and I go in here and I'm in a castle and you're standing there in this armor, and there's this table with all these, it was just magic.
It was exactly. I could say I was like, coming from the dressing room, and when you put that armor, it just something just transformed to me. Like I'm about to get back in the game. So I say, the production was A1, so authentic, so real. So I show people the project, and people are just amazed how authentic everything looks. So it was truly professional and such a great cast of people to work with.
Well, the cast is fantastic. I'll take full credit for bringing, for making great casting decisions.
Oh,
yeah.
If I can speak just to the spirit of the occasion, I think it was the last day of shooting, Peter. You got up in front of all of us, and we were just about to start. And you said, "I just got to say this," and you're all like, "You know how Peter gets when he
Yeah.
So anyway, he said, "I just got to say this. This is the best freaking job in the world." Continued on. That was the best.
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah,
people do that. You don't have people do that. That was just fabulous. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. Hey, so Dylan, you got any memories from set?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
tell us about that cigar.
Oh, I think I
Yeah.
was remembering about that cigar. I think at one point it was like I had to stand there with it for like 20 minutes and the smoke was just making me cry. And I was like, oh, I'm such a man. I remember working on the dialect a lot. It was a very specific British dialect called estuary. And then we ended up not having our dialect coach on set, but you had me improv a line where I was talking to the toy soldiers like they were real soldiers.
Yeah, that was Steve's idea. I didn't even know it was going to happen until I think maybe 5 minutes before we shot it. It was a total Steve Connard, my co-director and lead writer. He conspired with you or something like that. I get the idea the two of you went off and said, hey, let's do this speech to the troops type thing. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I was terrified because I didn't know it was going to happen either. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do this very specific British dialect in these made like improv words? But I don't know if it worked out. But I do remember doing that. And then when I like tap my heart at the end, like you'll live forever and here and here. Yeah. And promptly cut my hand open on my armor when I did that. And just like, no. I was like, all right, this happened. Just keep it together. It's rolling.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah. No, it wasn't like awesome. It wasn't crazy, but it was just I was like, oh, of course this would happen in your moment where you have to make it work. Anyway,
you were there. You were in it.
Yeah, it was awesome. There's some other stuff there. I remember the armor was incredible. And I was trying to discover the posture of the character and find his, arrogance and his pride and all this stuff. And then just getting just completely exhausted because I'm like, oh yeah, 40 minutes have passed and I'm not really this strong. So Stefan and I were both like, I think Stefan was like, I need a stool. We need stools.
Yeah, thank God for that table, man. That I would just lean on it and like position it so that the armor was just kind of sitting there, and then it'd be like, okay, is anybody looking? Oh God, okay, let's do the scene.
Hey, he's not working hard enough. He's leaning.
Yeah,
what if I leaned during this whole scene? That's what I wanted.
You got time to lean. You got time to act. Is that how it's saying?
Yeah.
I think it's clean, but whatever.
So, hey, I want to get to one more question. There's just 3 questions. What have you been doing? What do you remember? Last question. I'd love to kind of go through each of you and have you tell me about your character. Like, how would you? I'm very curious. I pulled this on Brandon when I interviewed him, and I was so I thought, wow, this is a really fun question for me. I don't know if it's a fun question for you, but boy, I'm getting a lot out of it. How do you describe the character you play in Chaldea? And for Chris, well, you could talk about the messenger if you want to, but I think Ramvik is probably your longer term.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, in fact, go ahead and start with you, Chris.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, watching War Room again and The Messenger, I was, just watching this thing that I did, how many years ago was it? 6 years ago, I guess?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. And just watching, his sort of posture as well. I know Dylan was talking about that, where I feel like his arms were just like stuck at his sides, like, oh, I should not be in here with all these higher ups. I'm so sorry, but this is bad news. And then he like runs out. I just like watching that, and his whole backstory I had created of just this messenger in this magic hued castle delivering this horrible news was terrified. So that's a little bit about the messenger. With Ramvik, not to give too much away, but very excited to maybe bring out, this Norse warrior, somebody who is there for the long run, has a lot of ambition, maybe some flying lions, and especially with somebody in this little room here, might be able to have some fun fighting scenes and some friendships might build, and also some love might build. And so I'm excited to explore those with Ramvik. And yeah.
Oh yeah, well, we can definitely promise you some fighting.
That's right.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's some conflict between Ramvik and Tepper Kazdani, Dylan's character. Well, Dylan, why don't you describe Tepper for our audience?
Well, I remember the information you gave me about his past and stuff, and I tried to elaborate on that to inform how I could, make his choices, or because, well, okay, first of all, I think Tepper has a major chip on his shoulder that he's always trying to deal with, and he's kind of well, not necessarily in this film, because I feel like he's in his element. He's with people he trusts, he's with his superiors, and he's with the people he can rub shoulders with and be comfortable with. But he kind of becomes morally ambiguous later on. And
well, and he is, a lot of the officers throughout the Legion at your level come from nobility.
Yes.
But Tepper doesn't.
He doesn't. Yeah.
And so it's a big issue for him that Ramvik comes along, who is junior, but is from a noble family of Tavia. And so there's this dynamic between these two characters that's based around that.
Yeah. And it's been cool over the years, just being with Chris in the recording booth for the animated stuff. And because Chris and I know each other from the theater scene here anyways, so it's really cool to just, finally have some scene work together. And
yeah, and for anybody curious, we will see that what I just mentioned, these two characters, Ramvik and Tepper, sort of squaring off a little bit in chapter 7, which will be released in a few weeks. So
dope. Yeah, I mean, just where was I going with that? Yeah, like trying to figure out the posture with the armor and stuff. Oh, I remember also, first of all, I was grateful that you cast me in this, because we did that short film based on Salem witch trials, like 2 years prior to this, and I was cast in that. And I remember not having very many lines, but having to make being in situations where I had to make strong choices. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll make this character kind of, more antagonistic. And then apparently that made you want to pick me to play this character, which is pretty morally ambiguous later. And I was like, oh my God, that's pretty cool. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you for picking me to do this. And yeah, it's just a great character. And it'll be fun to just see how the audiences react to him.
Oh, I think they'll love him. We have a lot of fun stuff in store. Well, for all these characters, but definitely Tepper. Ross, let's go to you. Helvig von Gustavus. How do you describe this character to people?
Well, I think Helvig is a completely self-made man. I mean, he was born of a lord and a concubine, but he was never really handed his nobility by his dad. His dad denied him a whole bunch of things. So he realized things early on. I mean, he had to get an education, and good heavens, he became a squire to a knight at 12. He became a knight himself at 16. He then hooked up with the soon-to-be emperor and fought in his army for him, rose through the ranks there, then won the day in a very important way and became the emperor's, at that point, he is now the emperor's good friend, and is given an entire continent to take care of and tamp down potential uprisings and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So he's a man of action. He's a man whose entire life was built on going up the ranks in the military. And now he is a man without action. He's married to a lady he can't stand, who can't stand him. And one of his joys in life is actually playing with his son whenever they get a chance to, playing in Viggy with his son, because he can then strategize again. But he's a guy I think is quite frustrated at the moment, because his entire life is built upon action, and there's been 40 years of peace. So that's how I see him.
I think it's good. That's great. Yeah, perfect. Let's go to Michael. Let's go to you next, and we'll wrap up with our lead.
Well, I kind of developed a backstory about he's, as a child, he saw war and how it ravaged his family, and somehow he got saved, and he kind of just worked his way up through the ranks as well. Just resorting to violence at the last minute, poised, but ready at all times. And not only that, he dedicated his life to Stefan's on saving his life from what was going on with his country, and he devowed to put all his efforts in warrior technique and learning, and not as a sense of honor, but also a sense of duty, to give his life, the life he never thought he would have, based off what happened to his family and how he was an orphan, and he got hooked up in this kingdom, and he worked his way up, and now he's a lead centenarian. So I just had this whole planned out effort that he wanted to just serve and be willing to die for the family he now has.
Yeah, the Legion, the Warhawks.
The Warhawks.
Right on.
Boy, you're gonna have me feel like I'm about to get back in that metal suit again, man.
We're working on it.
Hey, man. When I strapped on, I'm like, I started having them lights come on. I started feeling like I'm about to play ball again.
Yeah. We like to mention as often as appropriate, but Michael Montgomery, former professional NFL player, Green Bay.
Green Bay.
By the way, Duke was a really big Green Bay fan. I remember he told me that.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
so you know, Michael.
I remember he told me that too.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, Stefan, why don't you? I'm very curious of how you describe Reiswitz to when I'm not around.
I think that Reiswitz is a scarred, flawed individual. I think that in a lot of wealthy families, you have children are brought up in such a way that they're somehow sheltered, and but they also have like high expectations, and they don't necessarily know where they fit in. I think that Reiswitz was expected to be very well educated and very much a leader and to grow into that, and it just never really knew where he fit in. Probably a natural leader just by who he is, but at the same time, always feeling like he had to impress and he had to show everybody something, but it wasn't because of what he wanted, it was because of the expectations. And I think that basically you find him in just kind of this celebratory, it's like a trust fund kid, he's just kind of hanging out with everybody, the kingdom, he's got everything at his fingertips, and then the clouds form and he has to actually step up and grow up, and it winds up taking him to a very dark place, and he realizes that essentially, like, he has this real animalistic side to him, and goes deep into the darkness soon after this, and really has to fight with actually who he is, and discovering and dig really down deep and face all of his demons. I think that the demons have just been there riding at the side, and just being privileged and getting everything and never really having to see a lot of suffering has sheltered Reiswitz, and he just really struggles with morality because he doesn't think that he should be royalty and everybody should be beneath him, and so he just struggles with this fighting and this need to own territory and be this grand leader, because it's just really more about equality. I see him as like the kind of person that would turn a monarchy into a republic.
Wow, that's great. Well,
and that may have absolutely nothing to do with any of the story you've created, but that's how I saw it.
I think that's really good.
I should have talked more. Gosh.
Well, yeah, I think the shadow of his father is a big part of it. Too. This father is war hero and friend of the emperor and super powerful dude, who has put, like you said, a lot of expectations put on him. Yeah. Well, cool. Great. Hey, I just want to say thanks. There's somebody in chat who saw some of the War Room footage at GaryCon. So, I have been busy this whole time. I've been out going to well, not during COVID, but going to conventions, hanging out with gamers and show clips and stuff like that. And so, yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me for an hour. This is like so much fun. And
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's really great to
it's been great.
just see everybody.
Shout out to Steve, your partner in crime there, Peter. Shout out to Steve.
Yeah, shout out to Steve for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, so we are firmly committed to this insanity. We will have ongoing work. I know we move at a slow pace, but I will see each of you in at least in Bad Animals at some point, and who knows, maybe in another live action film at some point. So.
great.
Yeah, congratulations,
Peter.
Peter.
Yeah, well done, man. Good to see all you guys. Haven't seen you in long.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Stay safe,
appreciate
stay
everybody.
vigilant.
All right, goodbye.
Goodbye,
Bye,
everyone.
y'all.
All right, yeah, have a good one.
If you enjoyed this broadcast, you can support the channel by subscribing and sharing our videos on social media. Follow World of Chaldea on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And be sure to visit worldofchaldea.com for more videos, concept art, and behind-the-scenes content.